Hello and welcome. This is Captain Aquarius, doing business again as Dan Furst, coming to you today on November the 19th of 2016 with the first of a series of videos about the art and science of astrocartography that I specialize in. Astrocartography simply means map making by the stars. And what it does, as we'll see in the illustrations we're about to look at here, is that it takes the same information that is used to create the horoscope wheel of your birth chart, and it projects unique individual planet lines that are special for each one of us on a map of the world, so that we can tell where are our best and our least good places to be. We start with a map that is actually not really typical of astrocartography because it is really so uncommonly advantageous. This is my map of Peru, and it is worthwhile looking at it at least to get a sense of what the planet lines look like. Each one, as you see here, has its own color and it has its planetary symbol inside an arrow, which in this case, in this map, as you see, is pointing either to the west, like most of the arrows in this map, or it's pointing downward, not to the south, but downward to the Earth plane itself, to the center of the Earth below us. My map of Peru is uncommonly advantageous because the two yellow and green lines of the Sun and Chiron the Healer running between Cusco and Lake Titicaca are enclosing the town of Pisac, where I live in the sacred valley of the Urubamba River near Cusco. The sun line is great for good health and vitality, for life success, financial rewards, for becoming better known, for publication, and the Chiron line is naturally good for our health. The other lines that you see here, farther up the coast, the blue Jupiter line, is one of the main money lines in the map, and it crosses the purple Uranus line. These two together are uncommonly good for success and achievement in the publication of one's books, for the gaining of financial rewards that tend to come more easily here than they do in other places. And a little farther off the coast, still very much within range here, is a green line of Mercury, the communicator and the messenger, also the planet of business. So wherever these lines go will tend to have the same beneficial effects, and they are very powerfully strong here because the range of each line in the map is about 300 miles to either side of the line. This map shows us, therefore, you see, if we look at the line directions, they can go up to the dimension of spirit, they can go downward to the dimension of the body, the earth plane, the practical reality of life on the domestic level, they can point east to our individual personal self-expression, or they can point west to relationships. And so what this map clearly indicates is that for me, in this part of the world, relationships will be crucial, not only to people whom I have relationship with here in this particular place, but also people with whom I am able to attract relationships from all over the world. Now that we've had a little bit of orientation here, we're going now to look at some maps and the birth chart of the person who has recently gained a position of very high prominence and importance on the planet, because we're going to look at some of the astrocartography of Donald Trump. We start with his map of the eastern United States, and we see here that this is a matter of some concern, because here we see the red line of Mars the warrior on the attack, going very close to Toronto, Canada, right through Washington, D.C., and this line continues further south. It goes very close to Buenos Aires, Argentina. It also goes close to Caracas, Venezuela, indicating, you see, as all Mars lines are naturally conflictive, and this one represents the individual tending for his personal goals in a very aggressive manner. manner that this is a person who is not here to bargain and to negotiate and compromise. This is a man who is going to be on fire to get his own way. Farther out to the west, in the United States, we see the other red line, the darker red Pluto line, which, as we see here, is going very close to the cities of East Texas. This Pluto line carries the theme of death and regeneration, and it indicates that where this line is present, we are likely to be engaged in doing something that is going to cause the passing away of what is old and can no longer stand, and the initiation of the new things that come to replace it. It is no wonder, therefore, that among the people who are very upset about the arrival of Donald Trump at the position of supreme power in the United States are the Bush family and other key players in the Republican establishment of Eastern Texas. And we can see that this line, if we were to track it further south, also goes through Mexico, which, if Mr. Trump is able to carry through the things that he intends, will certainly be very powerfully affected by his intention to deport unauthorized aliens in the United States, even to create a wall between Mexico and the United States and compel the Mexicans themselves to pay for it. These two red lines are the challenging ones in our maps, just as the two blue lines of Jupiter and Venus are the most uncommonly advantageous ones for money, for relationships with people and institutions of power, for love matters under the Venus line. The red lines, by contrast, are the more challenging and difficult ones. And so what we can expect is that here within the United States itself and in relationships with other countries that are to the south, in Central America and South America, things are not going to be entirely comfortable and easy. This man will, at least at the beginning, push aggressively and actively for what he intends, even if he must do so in the manner of a bully who does not engage the willing acceptance of other people in what he intends to do in relationship to them. Now, as we see here in this map, the two lines that are curving diagonally through the eastern United States and down into Central America and South America, if we were to continue them and track them farther down to the south, they would form the pattern of a sine curve that scoops down through the southern hemisphere and then comes up again into the eastern hemisphere, where we are going to see the same lines forming a different alignment here. And we notice here that in the map of Eastern Asia, the same two lines are present. The Mars line, which is pointing to the west, and also the Pluto line. The Mars line here is going very close to Pyongyang, North Korea, and it is also going close to Shanghai, China. And looking farther west, we see that the dark red Pluto line and the bright red Mars line are between them, framing the Chinese capital of Beijing. This does not really augur for wonderfully smooth and easy relationships between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America. It is likely here, because both of these lines are pointing west to the dimension of relationships, that there will be conflict here in the relationships, and there will also be a sense on the part of the Chinese that Donald Trump is doing what he can very actively to transform them, to rock their boat, and to turn them into something else. What we can notice here very specifically is that this Mars line is a particularly dangerous one. It is one of our least advantageous lines. I often point out in readings that I do for individual people, yes, if you want to find your wonderful new love partner under the Venus line, please make sure that you do not honeymoon under a Mars line pointing west to the descendant. Now we're going to look a little bit at the birth chart of Donald Trump in order to follow the two planets we've been tracking here, Mars and Pluto, and to look at some other features of his chart. It fits him well. We notice that up in the 10th house of his profession, his sun in the sign of Gemini, also the planet Uranus, the bringer of change, the revolutionary, the breaker of systems, who looks rather like a letter H with a little ball hanging from the crosspiece of the sign, are framing between them the horseshoe of the moon's node, which represents the ability to attract relationships, particularly with groups of people. So what would naturally apply here would be constituents in an election. They would be business teams and partners and networks. This man is likely to be highly charismatic and compelling in attracting the associates and the support that he needs. He is also likely to be emotionally volatile because we notice here that the sun is opposite to the Sagittarius moon down in the 4th house of the home, so that he is likely to be somewhat spontaneous, even impulsive in his emotional expression, because the moon is the planet of our emotions in the sign of Sagittarius, the most hasty and impulsive of all signs, the one which tends to have to learn the hard way that it is at times necessary to consider carefully what we are about to say before we shoot ourselves in the foot. We also see that the moon, in combination with the upside-down horseshoe of the moon's node, means the separation, the dissolving, the splitting of relationships here on the domestic plane of our home life with our life partner. So this man is likely, therefore, to go through a series of relationships as he has with a set of magnificent trophy wives. Other things that we see in the chart here, Venus and Saturn are in conjunction in the 11th house of friends and community. What is likely to happen here, because Saturn is the older man in the relationship, is that this person will probably have a series of relationships with women who are significantly younger than himself. He is blessed for money. We notice that at the top of the chart, the 24 degrees of Taurus position of the midheaven at the top center on the outer rim of the wheel indicates that his sole focus, his spiritual thrust, is going to be in the direction of material wealth. Taurus is the money sign. And notice too that the planet Uranus here in the 10th house of the chart is in a magnificently advantageous relationship with the planet Jupiter, the bringer of money, wealth, expansion, prosperity. In the 2nd house of the chart, you see Jupiter at 17 Libra in a superb 120-degree trine angle with Uranus in the 10th house. This means that this man will have a golden touch, even beyond the money that he attracts naturally by being born as the son of a wealthy man. He will have a knack for attracting the money that he needs to create what he intends to do. This planet combination, sometimes called the J.P. Morgan aspect, indicates the ability to create success, to attract support, and to do so easily without having to go through painful and difficult processes. The two planets that we have tracked in his astrocartography map are in his 12th house. You see Mars there at 26 degrees of Leo, and we also see Pluto there at 10 degrees of the sign of Leo. This means that these two planets, these two turbulent, disturbing, potentially conflictive planets, interestingly enough, are hidden in the house of secrets and shadows, which is what the 12th house is. The 12th house is like the wings at the side of the stage where the actors wait in the dark before they go on, whereas the 1st house is the stage itself. This indicates that if we think that we have seen effusive and aggressive and impulsive actions on the part of this man so far, We have not seen anything yet, and the time ahead will depend largely on planet transits to these two Leo planets in Trump's 12th house. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen.